One thing I noticed about being a talent development influencer on social media, simply put out a great leadership quote and you'll get a lot of likes. Hello everyone, I'm David Elser and welcome to my very next AI Chore Cast, where I leverage AI to help you get ahead at work. A lot of times when I jump on social media, I'll see this common comparison where someone will compare a manager versus leader or, a manager versus boss. What they're really talking about, though, most of them are talking about the difference between a good manager and a bad manager. If you see someone making that comparison, that's your first clue that they're stuck in Talent Development 1.0. Talent Development 1.0 really came about in the early 1980s, which really focused heavily on trying to upskill the manager to have better people skills, to be a better quote-unquote leader. But what they're really doing is trying to help that manager get better at leading. Leader, leading, and leadership do not mean the same thing in 21st century talent development. So in this podcast, I decided to ask AI to kind of differentiate between what is management, what is leadership, and what's the difference between leading, leader, and leadership. And of course, we're going to talk a little bit about, well, I'm hoping AI will talk a little bit about management's counterpart, which is smart followership. So if you're interested in learning more about Talent Development 2.0, go ahead and stick around because it's now time to do the chores. Let's go ahead and take a deep dive.
Have you ever noticed how the word manager has almost become a dirty word in the business world?
Oh, absolutely. It's wild.
Right. I mean, you listening to this right now, if you scroll through your professional feeds or, wander down the business book aisle, leader is treated as the ultimate compliment. But manager.
Yeah, nobody wants to be just a manager anymore.
Exactly. It's like everyone wants to be a leader. Being told you're managing instead of leading is basically, it's a polite way of saying you're holding the company back.
It's become the ultimate corporate insult, really.
But if you stop and really think about it, is that actually how work gets done? Does an organization survive on just visionary inspiration alone with no one actually maintaining the baseline?
Obviously not.
Right. So welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to fundamentally rethink how we view our roles at work. We're looking at some really radical post-industrial research that proves this modern obsession with leadership and our, frankly, hatred of management is actually a massive century-old trap.
A huge trap. And we have the perfect stack of materials to pick the lock on that trap today.
Yes, we do.
We're unpacking David Elser's capability model, which is known as Talent Development 2.0, alongside his foundational book, Doing the Chores.
Such a good concept.
It really is. We're also bringing in research from Matthew Chutkowski over at the Post-Industrial Leadership Institute, a sweeping historical analysis by Joseph C. Rost, and, well, the spark that arguably started this whole fire.
Oh, the article.
Yeah, a highly influential 1977 Harvard Business Review article by Abraham Zalesnik.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand how we fell into this trap, we can't just look at the modern workplace, right? We have to rewind the clock.
Right, because we didn't just wake up yesterday and decide managers were boring bureaucrats and leaders were rock stars.
Exactly. There's a deeply ingrained mechanism at play here.
Precisely. And to understand that mechanism, we have to talk about what David Elser categorizes as Talent Development 1.0.
The industrial era.
Right. Think about the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The world moved from farms to factories, and suddenly you needed a very hierarchical, top-down approach to organize thousands of people on an assembly line.
Because the goal was mass production, not mass innovation.
Yeah.
You needed compliance.
Exactly. It was a mindset that treated organizations like giant machines and people like replaceable cogs. But more importantly, this era birthed a highly specific, very rigid definition of leadership.
Which is where Joseph C. Rost comes in, right?
Yes. Ross spent years analyzing decades of 20th century literature just to figure out what people actually meant when they used the word during the industrial age.
And what did the literature actually say? Because I'm guessing it wasn't the warm, collaborative buzzwords we hear today.
Oh, not at all. Ross synthesized the industrial era definition of leadership down to this: great men and women with certain preferred traits influencing followers to do what the leaders wish in order to achieve group or organizational goals.
Wow, to do what the leaders wish.
Yeah, it was a completely leader-centric paradigm. The entire concept of leadership was wrapped up in the individual person at the very top of the pyramid.
Right, and the followers were just tools to execute the leader's vision.
Precisely.
Okay, I want to pause here because looking at the mechanics of this, it's essentially the great man theory of history, but wearing a corporate suit.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. Like we built entire corporate structures just waiting for a hero with preferred traits to swoop in and tell everyone what to do.
And if you think about it from an HR perspective, this mindset explains so much about how companies still operate today.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It naturally leads organizations to funnel all their training and development dollars into like a select few high potentials.
Yeah, you send the chosen few to the expensive executive retreats, and what happens to the rest of the company?
You completely ignore the vast majority of the workforce.
Exactly.
Because under Talent Development 1.0, the workforce doesn't need development. They're just there to follow the great hero's wishes.
What's fascinating here is how deeply this hero worship infiltrated our thinking. It specifically sparked a massive debate that we are still fighting today.
Wait, I'm finding a contradiction here, though. If the industrial era was all about this top-down command and control great man theory, how did manager suddenly become a bad word? Who flipped the switch and pitted managers against leaders?
That is the million-dollar question. So the industrial paradigm essentially trained us to believe that leadership was just good management. They were treated as the same thing.
Okay.
But as the 20th century progressed, the economy shifted, right?
Oh, yeah.
We moved from purely physical labor into knowledge work.
Right. Assembly lines to office cubicles.
Exactly. And people started to sense that keeping the machine running wasn't the same thing as figuring out where the machine should go next.
I see.
That realization sparked an absolute explosion of literature trying to pull management and leadership apart.
Which brings us to the infamous 1977 Harvard Business Review article by Abraham Zalesnik. It's literally titled, Managers and Leaders. Are they different?
Yes. And it poured gasoline on the fire.
From what I'm reading in our sources, it really did.
It was a total watershed moment. Zalesnik argued that managers and leaders are fundamentally different types of people.
How so?
Well, he painted managers as problem solvers who seek order and control. He described them as rigid, risk-averse, and almost compulsively addicted to resolving issues quickly just to maintain the status quo.
Yikes. Okay, and how did he describe leaders?
He elevated them to the status of visionary artists. Zalesnik claimed that leaders tolerate chaos, they lack structure, and they actively delay closure on issues to explore new options.
Delaying closure, that sounds.
Right. He argued that leaders have much more in common with artists and scientists than they do with managers. And crucially, he said leaders inspire intense emotional reactions from their subordinates, while managers just send ambiguous, detached signals.
Okay, wait, I'm really struggling with this.
Why is that?
I mean, looking at this through a modern lens,
Uh-huh.
isn't this just a completely rigged comparison?
Rigged how? What do you mean?
Well, think about the mechanics of an actual workplace. Zalesnik makes leaders sound like these romantic, chaotic artists. But honestly, if my boss acts like a chaotic artist, delays closing urgent issues, and actively tolerates chaos,
It would be a disaster.
my daily job becomes an absolute nightmare. It feels like we are just taking all the traits of a bad manager, comparing them to the traits of an idealized visionary, and deciding to label the good one a leader.
That is a very fair point.
I mean, he makes managers sound like unfeeling, robotic bureaucrats. Of course, you listening to that are going to say, I want to be the artist, not the robot.
Right.
But it feels like a false dichotomy that totally disrespects the actual work of keeping an organization from collapsing.
And you are hitting on the exact flaw that our post-industrial sources like David Elser and Matthew Chokowski call out. It is a rigged comparison.
Thank you.
We have spent decades pitting these two concepts against each other in this management versus leadership debate, treating them as if one is inherently superior to the other.
Which they aren't.
No, they aren't competitors at all. To clear up this confusion, we need to look at the exact definitions synthesized from the post-industrial research. Because once you define the mechanisms accurately, you realize they are entirely different, equally important functions.
Okay, let's unpack the actual mechanics then. What is a manager really?
First, a manager is a position. It comes with granted authority.
Okay, granted authority.
Right. Think about the mechanism of authority. A manager doesn't just seek order like a neat freak. They are given literal structural tools, budgets, hiring power, operational protocols.
Right.
They use that granted authority to maintain stability, control, and efficiency. They focus on planning, organizing, and directing resources to accomplish predefined organizational objectives.
So it's the absolute bedrock of structured systems and processes.
Exactly. It's structural.
So a manager is an actual job title. They are handed the keys to the car and told, keep this on the road.
Yes.
And what about a leader?
A leader is a role. It is not a job title. A leader is someone who offers a new vision in response to a perceived dissatisfaction with the current state.
Oh, interesting.
And here's the crucial mechanism. They influence others without relying on formal authority to drive meaningful change.
I love that distinction. Manager is a position relying on authority. Leader is a role relying on influence.
Exactly. And anyone, regardless of their position, can step into that role.
So if I'm understanding this right, it's like, well, let's use a natural analogy from David Elser's Doing the Chores. It's like running a farm.
Okay, I like where this is going.
You absolutely need management to ensure the crops are planted efficiently, making sure the daily harvest stays on track. That's the authority side.
Right, maintaining the baseline.
But you need someone in a leader role to step up when you realize the farm needs a completely new irrigation method because of a drought. The person who initiates that change doesn't need to be the farm owner. It could be a farmhand who influences the rest of the group. They aren't competitors. You are doing different, equally important jobs.
That farm analogy perfectly encapsulates the mechanics. You need the stability and efficiency of management, and you need the adaptive influence of a leader role.
They work together.
Exactly. Furthermore, and this is a massive paradigm shift, our sources strongly emphasize we have to stop treating the words leader, leading, and leadership as if they all mean the exact same thing.
Wait, hold on. We use those words interchangeably all the time. A leader does leading, which creates leadership. How are they different?
In the old talent development 1.0 mindset, yes, we assume that whatever a great man did was leadership, but the post-industrial paradigm breaks this down scientifically.
Okay, lay it on me.
A leader is the person stepping into the role to propose a change. Leading is the specific action they are taking, the communication, the persuasion. But leadership is the relationship itself.
The relationship?
Yes. It is the social phenomenon that happens between people. As Matthew Chudkowsky points out, merely having followers isn't leadership. A person at the top barking orders isn't leadership.
Oh, wow.
Leadership is the reciprocal, interactive relationship that actually enacts the change. If you propose a new vision, but no one engages with you in a reciprocal relationship to make it happen, you aren't engaged in leadership. You're just a person talking to yourself in an empty room.
This is a huge aha moment for me. Leadership isn't something you are. It's something you participate in.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? If we stop pitting managers against leaders, and we recognize that leadership is actually a relationship, how do we actually build a better workforce?
Because clearly only training the top 5% of your company, that old TD 1.0 model, isn't going to cut it anymore.
Right. It absolutely will not cut it.
If we want to build a better workforce, we have to completely shift our paradigm. This brings us to David Elser's concept of talent development 2.0.
And how is that different?
Unlike the 1.0 version, which was top-down and obsessed with finding a few heroes, talent development 2.0 is role-centric. It focuses on developing better collaborators across the entire organization, not just a select few.
Collaborators. Okay, this is where Matthew Chudkowsky's research really shakes the table, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because he built upon Joseph C. Rost's historical analysis to usher leadership into the post-industrial era. And to do that, he did the unthinkable. He completely removed the word leader from the definition of leadership.
It was a radical, brilliant move. He redefined leadership for the 21st century as an interactive influence relationship among collaborators.
Among collaborators.
Yeah.
Notice the mechanism there. There are no leaders and followers in that definition. There are only collaborators.
Because the old leader-follower dichotomy implies a disjointed relationship. A leader thinks, a follower does.
Right, but the word collaborator implies we are in this together, mutually influencing each other. But here's my question. You can't just, slap a collaborator badge on someone and expect them to suddenly engage in high-functioning, mutually influential relationships, right?
No, definitely.
There has to be a baseline of competence.
And that is exactly where David Elser's Doing the Chores creates the vital groundwork for this shift.
Doing the chores.
Right. Elser argues that you don't just magically wake up one day as a brilliant collaborator ready to enact massive organizational change. You have to learn the fundamentals first. By teaching that everyone has a row to hoe, it prepares individuals to be strong contributors.
You have to learn how to do the chores. It's a subtle but powerful idea. Everyone in an organization has their daily responsibilities. And by learning to tend to those everyday tasks, it builds responsibility and work ethic.
It builds the trust required for influence to actually work. If you don't do your chores, no one is going to trust your grand vision for the future.
That makes total sense. And it's worth briefly noting that while smart followership, learning from others while actively supporting shared goals is the natural counterpart to management in this new ecosystem. The ultimate goal of TD 2.0 is bringing everyone together to be effective collaborators.
Yes. When a crisis hits or a new opportunity arises, those collaborators already have the groundwork of trust and competence to engage in true leadership and enact change together.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, this isn't just a nice philosophical shift. It is an absolute necessity for survival in the modern world.
It really is. Think about the era we are entering. We are dominated by rapid global changes, massive complexity, and specifically the integration of the AI.
Yeah, AI and technology are fundamentally changing how work happens.
Exactly. And that is why the old, slow, industrial chain of command is completely obsolete.
It's just too slow.
Way too slow. Success in the AI era will increasingly require people to dynamically and effectively collaborate with one another, with their technology and with their environment in real time.
Because if the person closest to the problem has to wait for a hero 3 levels up to give them permission to change, the company is already dead.
Precisely.
So to bring it all home for you listening, it is time to move beyond the trap of talent development 1.0.
Yeah.
We have to stop worshiping the myth of the great man.
And stop treating management like a dirty word.
Yes. Management isn't the enemy of leadership. They are different, equally important jobs. It's time for talent development 2.0. We need to embrace the everyday groundwork like doing the chores, because doing the work creates the strong, capable collaborators we desperately need to navigate the future.
Which raises an important question for you to explore on your own.
Oh, I like this.
If leadership is truly just a collaborative influence relationship rather than a job title, and if you don't need formal authority to enact meaningful change, what is stopping you from initiating that influence relationship the very next time you walk into work?
Wow. What's stopping you indeed? Maybe manager isn't a dirty word after all. Maybe we just all have a row to hoe, so it's time to get to work.
Well, welcome back. I think this is one of the most powerful deep dives that I've done since I've started these AI Chore Cast. The thing that I really like about this Chore Cast is it firmly defines what management is and what leadership is. And of course, the little plug in there about the innovative concept of smart followership. One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about doing the chores is because I believe that there's a lot of great folks out there that are out there doing the daily grind that really don't get the recognition they deserve, or also they're really not looked at as a subject matter expert. So doing the chores and talent development 2.0 helps them see that, they can be a leader. And hopefully it shows that a manager, can be a follower. However, when they come together is where they both really are successful, when they both become collaborators. That's why I believe the future of talent development is not just creating more leaders, and it's not just creating smarter followers. It's about creating greater collaborators. And also, I firmly believe that we need to stop using leader and manager as synonymous, because anyone can be a leader. Whether you're out there working on a factory floor, or you're out there loading a trailer, or you're working in a restaurant or a hospital on the front lines, you can step into the leader role by identifying potential dissatisfaction with the current or future state, and then influencing and persuading those in authority to try to make a change. That's what a leader does. Anyone can be a leader. Manager, we need to stop making that a dirty word. It's not manager versus leader. It's good manager versus bad manager, because a manager can be a leader and a manager can be a follower. But what's best is when a manager becomes a collaborator. I'm very thankful for Matthew Chodkowski, who I quoted, or AI kind of talked a little bit about in this AI podcast. He has really been ushering me into the 21st century leadership and explaining what it is. And that's what I'm hopefully doing for you all out there, to help you usher into what I call Talent Development 2.0. So thanks for doing the chores today. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to follow me on social media, and you can learn that. Reach out to me at doingthechores.com. So until next time, go out there and create a great memory for someone today. Thank you.